Hey, good morning, everybody. It's October 23rd, the morning, about 10 a.m. in the morning. And today I am going to make my first flight here in New Zealand to try to convert my private pilot's license from the United States to New Zealand. So I came yesterday to the airport and got one of their charts. I have my minimal supplies with me, my pilot logbook, which I need to review with them. I brought my headset from the United States. I don't have my knee board. I don't have my flight calculator. I don't have anything else. So hopefully they'll either lend it to me or I'll make it work. But the airspace is quite different here in New Zealand. Very interesting. I have to actually review some of these charts with them to understand the differences between the United States and New Zealand's airspace. But depending on the instructor and how willing they are to either be photographed, videoed, or allow me to take some video while we're in the air after the flight review, I might be able to capture some additional footage here. So it's a week later. I didn't take any video that day. I was up in the air, but I did today. Getting the flight review is going to take a few flights just because I have to meet some of the requirements, the different training requirements that they have. As I mentioned before, one of the big differences here was the way their airspace is laid out. And one of the things about flying is globally, no matter where you go, flight rules are very much the same. But this is what the flight airspace looks like in the United States. You have all these different classes of airspace. Bigger airports like New York, Chicago, LA will be what's called Class Bravo. Then smaller airports might be cities like Pittsburgh, maybe, or Philadelphia might be C airspace. Smaller airspaces like Stewart, Poughkeepsie are going to be Class D airspace. These are all controlled airspaces, and you have to get clearance to get inside of those areas. But you have all this area here of Class E and Class G that is all uncontrolled airspace, and you can fly over the top of these airspaces as long as you stay clear of them and don't go in them. But the bottom of this Class A airspace here is 18,000 feet MSL up to 60,000 feet. Now this is what's very interesting. If I also go to this chart here, this is a VFR chart. And again, here, this is going to show you, this is Stewart Airfield, just north of New York City. And here, this is saying that this is Class D airspace, and it is from the ground to 3,000 feet. This is Poughkeepsie, it's from ground to 2,700 feet. That's the top layer of that airspace. So if you're flying over here in Orange County Airport, that's uncontrolled airspace, and as long as you stay out of that, you don't need to make radio calls or go on. We had to make radio calls to let people know where you are, but you don't have to necessarily be in contact with the tower under constant controlled airspace. This is controlled B airspace of New York City. It's a very unique shape because of the three airports, but most airspaces, airports are round, similar to this one here. This is for Allentown, and you can see this has, again, a lower level and an upper level. So when you look at this, the inner, this is like a wedding cake. The inside is from ground to 4,400. Then as you move out, the bottom layer is 2,200 to 4,400. So it steps down. It's like a wedding cake turned upside down on the ground. Now, how does the New Zealand airspace differ? So again, this is the chart here for the area that we live in New Zealand. This is the city of Dunedin where we live. Actually, we live out here on this peninsula. But here is the airport right here, the Dunedin Airport, and this is the Class D airspace. You can see D right there. Here it says surface to 3,500, so you might think, oh, okay, 3,500 is the top shelf of that airspace. But if you look out, as you come away from there, you come over here, you're still in D airspace. It's shaded differently because this is controlled by the tower, but this is still Class D airspace, and you have to contact radar approach and be under with the Dunedin Tower. You have to be on radar and in contact with them if you're going to fly through this area. But you notice here it says lower level, 3,500 feet. So where this here hit the top level, the 3,500 feet here is the bottom level of the airspace here. If I go over here, we'll see that the bottom lower level is 7,500 feet. There is no top layer. There is no top level. This goes all the way up to 60,000 feet. So it's not that you can't fly through this, you just have to be in contact with radar surfaces and be on radar the entire time. So a big difference, but very easily learnable and understandable. Now another thing, in order to convert my license, I have to go what they call, not the FAA, the CAA, and do a biannual flight review. It's every pilot has to take a flight review every 2 years to just confirm proficiency, and there's all these things. Now, there's an item here, low flying in simulated poor visibility, plus or minus 100 feet, plus or minus 5 knots in varying speed. So what does that mean? Well, it turns out that's not something that we train for in the United States. So what does that mean? Well, in New Zealand, because weather can change so rapidly, they want you to be able to fly low and be able to get underneath some weather if necessary. So normally, flight regulations don't allow you to fly below 500 feet. But this is flying below 500 feet. And so in this designated training area here, there is an area right here, this little blue shaded area, that is what's called a low flying zone. That's a low flying training zone. Here's another one here at the mouth of this river. You can see right here, this little blue area is a low flying training zone. And what that means is that they want to take you there and they want to train, and you have to do 3 hours of training and then review this every 2 years of low flying in simulated poor visibility. So what would happen if the clouds came in and dropped, and they were 600 or 700 feet over the ground? What would you do? How would you deal with that? And what they do is have you get down here and practice turns and practice slow flight over the ground in the area, controlled flight, and then simulate an emergency landing where we get down to actually about 50 feet above the ground. So I've actually got that recorded, and I'm going to add it on the end of this. some of the differences. I have to do some mountain training, even though I have over 300 hours of mountain train flying experience. I have to get some mountain training under their rules here for the CAA. But then about another 2 weeks, I should be signed off and be legal to fly myself here in New Zealand. And that might mean I can get a whole lot of great videos from around the country as we take some tours.